Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a book that might just flip everything you think you know about happiness, freedom, and your past on its head.
So, this explainer is all based on The Courage to Be Disliked, a book that introduces us to Adlerian psychology by kicking things off with this pretty wild question. It argues that our lives aren't shaped by what happened to us back then, but by the goals we're aiming for right now.
All right, let's really get into this. Because the core idea here, it pretty much turns our usual thinking about our lives completely upside down. So on one side, you've got your classic Freudian idea, that's etiology. It's the one we all kind of know. Your past causes your present. You feel anxious because of some trauma. But Adler comes along and says, nope, that's not it at all. He calls it teleology. And it argues that you're not pushed by the past, you're pulled by your current goals. So anxiety isn't a scar from the past, it might be a tool you're using right now to avoid something scary. And Adler himself put it perfectly. It's not the experience that defines us, it's the meaning we choose to give it. We are in the driver's seat. We pick and choose meanings from our past to build the story that works for us today. This is such a great way to think about emotions, right? Imagine this scene. A mother is really letting her daughter have it, just yelling. And then the phone rings. She instantly picks it up with a sweet, polite voice. The second she hangs up, boom, she's back to yelling. See? The anger wasn't some uncontrollable force. It was a tool she picked up to control her daughter and then put down when it wasn't useful. It was all about her goal. So, if the past isn't the real problem, then what is? Well, Adler's answer is surprisingly simple. It all comes down to other people. I mean, this is a huge claim, right? Adler is saying that every single problem you have, your self-doubt, your anxiety about work, all of it is fundamentally a problem about your relationships with other people. If you were the only person in the entire universe, would you even know what lonely or inferior felt like? Nope. Let's take that feeling of inferiority. You don't just feel inferior out of nowhere. It only happens when you're looking at someone else and thinking, I'm not as good as them. It's totally subjective, born entirely out of being around other people. And here, Adler points out a super important difference. A feeling of inferiority, that's actually okay. It can be the fuel that makes you want to get better. But an inferiority complex, that's totally different. That's when you use that feeling as an excuse to just give up. It's the voice that says, I can't succeed, instead of, okay, I need to work harder. And this is what happens when we get stuck in that mindset. If you see life as one big competition, then everyone around you becomes a rival, an enemy. You can never really relax, you can never really trust anyone because you're always trying to win. And how can you possibly be happy living like that? Okay, so if relationships are the source of all our problems, what do? Just become a hermit? No. Adler gives us this brilliantly simple, totally practical tool to find freedom within our relationships. It's called the separation of tasks. Basically, it's about figuring out what's your responsibility and what's someone else's responsibility, and then staying in your lane. So how do you figure this out? It's easy. You just ask one simple question. Who is ultimately going to bear the consequences of this choice? A kid doesn't do their homework. Who gets in trouble at school? The kid. So studying is the child's task, not the parents'. And this is where it really clicks and feels so freeing. What this means is that how other people feel about your choices, whether your parents approve, or your boss gets annoyed, or your partner is disappointed, that's their task to handle, not yours. Your only job is to make the best choice you can for yourself. This leads us right to the heart of the book's title, its central message. True freedom means having the courage to be disliked. Think about it. If you're constantly trying to make everyone happy, you're living their lives, not your own. So when someone doesn't like a choice you made for yourself, that's actually proof that you're living freely. But wait. It's not just about being free and not caring what anyone thinks. That's not the end goal. Freedom is the key that unlocks the door to what we're all really after, which, according to Adlerian psychology, is happiness. The ultimate goal for all of our relationships, the real key to being happy, is to build what Adler called a community feeling. It's that deep sense that you belong, that you have a place, and that the people around you are your comrades, not your competition. And this feeling is built on three main ideas. First up, self-acceptance, really being okay with yourself, flaws and all. Then there's confidence in others, trusting people as your peers without strings attached. And finally, contribution to others, the drive to be useful to the community. And that last one, contribution, brings us to this beautiful, simple definition of happiness. It's not about getting praise or recognition. It's just that quiet internal feeling that
I am useful to someone. That's it. That's where real self-worth and joy come from.
All right, this brings us to our final and maybe biggest mindset shift. It's a completely new way to look at how we live, not just our big goals, but every single moment. So most of us see life as a straight line, right? A race. We're always running toward the next thing on the horizon. Adler says, throw that idea out. Instead, see life as a dance. The point of dancing isn't to get to the other side of the room. The point is the dancing itself. With this mindset, you're not always on your way to somewhere else. You are always arriving right here, right now.
It's like this. If you shine a super bright spotlight right here on this very moment, what happens? You can't see the past behind you or the future in front of you. They just fade away into the shadows. They stop mattering so much.
You might be thinking, okay, but if I'm just dancing around, how do I not get lost? Well, you have a guiding star, a compass. And that compass is always pointing toward contribution to others. As long as you keep moving in a direction that feels useful, you can dance your way through life without ever losing your way. So what's the bottom line here? It's that you don't have to wait. You don't need anyone's permission. And you don't need your past to be different. You have the power right now to choose a new way of living, to find happiness through contribution. Someone has to be the first to start. Other people might not play along, but that's their task. Why not you?